things that I need to say so that I can get done with this and pat myself on the back like I did last time. Thank you, Hashem. Wasn't I standing in the same place, saying the same thing the last time I did this? It was like 2 hours ago? Well, no, it was more than 2 hours ago because what did you do today? Well, you know, I'm never going to let that fucking go. And if you're wondering, no, she didn't ask me again. What'd you do today? But I've been asking myself every single day. And see, that's what... See, I was mad about it before. What'd you do today? Nothing. But now, every single day since that happened, I keep asking myself, I keep hearing it in my head, what'd you do today? What'd you do today? What are you gonna do today? Well, what I do today, I got up, I had 2 cups of coffee. I messaged my ex-wife. I read my son's birth chart for her, and then read her birth chart for her. Then gave some advice to a friend of mine who lives in India. Then read a chart for a friend of mine who lives in Arizona. Then I wrote for about an hour. Relating everything I've read over the book of Samuel 1, Samuel 2, Kings 1, and the little bit I've read of Kings 2 back to my life. Before I recorded a 2-hour lecture. Then I went and got lunch. Ran to get another pack of cigarettes. Then I went home. And then I uploaded the last video, charged my phone a little bit. While I was doing that, I was scrolling through Facebook looking for anything I could respond to. And then I found a few questions worthy of responding to in an astrology group. One question had to deal with tomorrow's full moon. And the other one was on how to interpret a birth chart. Both of which are my specialties. So I spent about another hour or so responding to those. Then alarm. Look for synchronicities. Then I saw that my phone was charged and felt like, you know what, this seems like a good time to do another 2-hour lecture. Oh, and then I also uploaded about, I don't know, like 7 or 8 hours worth of fucking videos up to YouTube that are going up right now. That are probably going to take another 6 hours to fucking upload. Which means that my computer's going to be completely out of commission for the next... Oh shit. For the next 6 hours. So it kind of puts me in a position where I kind of do whatever the fuck I want now. So I decided, fuck it. Let's go and listen to myself talk some more. I like asking myself, what did you do today? I mean, granted, I know the day's not over yet, but I'm thinking of it more like, well, I also have to do preparations for tomorrow, too. So, the last video cut off in the middle of a sentence. And mind you, I don't know how these videos go up. Like, I just fucking batch them and just throw them up. So the order in which that they end up on my channel, like I don't even know if they're actually in order. But during the last video, I was actually right in the middle of saying something, and I looked down and saw that it stopped recording. I gotta get a haircut tomorrow. I had a friend once say to me, "How the fuck do you get so much stuff done in a day?" But I don't waste my time with things I don't need to be doing. I say this a lot, but one of the benefits of forming an LLC is that now technically everything I do is work related. So this is work. Like, what did you do today? I worked today. The fuck did you do? Trying to be a YouTube star? Nah. I'm trying to be the sovereign lord of all the world. No, I have no... I mean, mind you, I would love to have a stream of income, but, and right, that's the idea. Have multiple streams of income. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. It's just that I'm going an unconventional route. I write. I feel like I have a very strong social media presence on Facebook. I like to write on there and interact with lots of groups. Have this. I have my regular life. I mean, mind, I don't really talk to too many people out in the world, but one day, I used to work for my father a long time ago, and he had a tile business. I was his helper. The thing I liked most about the tile industry was the money. What I didn't like about the tile industry was everything else, especially working with my father. Which is interesting because I have a tendency of working with Franks, working for people named Frank. All of the bosses that I've ever wanted to fucking kill, not just kill, but like torture and skin, hunt like a fucking animal, inspire the fucking fear of Satan into, all of their names are Frank. But at the same time, all of my best teachers happen to be Frank. But when, over the course of time working with Daddy, if there was something I learned, it was I don't want to have to be this guy that has to work with his hands for the rest of his life. I need to figure out a way to make money using my mind. And then about 5 years ago, I got into writing. Got back into writing. I hadn't written anything since I was like fucking 11 or 12. So it was something I always wanted to get back into. But I was one of those people, I mean, just like everybody else, like, oh, I'm not good enough. I don't have the training. I don't have the education to do that. Yeah, well, as it turns out, you don't really need an education to write anything. I mean, it helps if you know how, if you're at least have a working knowledge of the alphabet. I mean, that's a good start. It's important to be able to read what you write. That's goalpost number one you want to be able to reach. Do you want to be a writer? Do you want to grow up to be a writer? Yes. Okay. Here's the first thing that we need to learn how to do. Can we read? Yes. Good. Can we write something down and then read it back to ourselves and know what we were saying? Yeah. All right, good. That's two. Now, can someone else look at what we're writing, know what we're saying, and take something away from it? Well, let's not even overcomplicate. Can someone else read what we're writing? Yes. Good. That's three. There's 3 check marks. You are officially a writer. Now just start writing shit. I don't know what to write. Write about you. Do you have thoughts that go through your head? God, I fucking hate my life. Write that down. God, I want to fucking put my fist through this cocksucker's face. Write that down. A friend of mine, I challenged her with doing like a writing experiment over the course of a week. What do I write? I don't know what to write. Write whatever the fuck you want. Here, I'll get you started. Derek is making me write. He is both charming and witty. Start with that and then go. I just heard, did you really talk to people like that? Yeah. One of the characteristics about myself that I treasure most is that when it's time to be blunt and direct, I'm usually pretty good at it. Usually. Sometimes I hold back. Sometimes I hold back when I don't want to. But then I'm afraid of the consequences of what I want to say, and it's like, all right, you know what? Maybe let's just refine this a little bit. Let's bring that down just a notch. Afraid of conflict. I have avoidant tendencies, and I try to avoid conflict. Sometimes, not all the time. Give me a rum and coke? Shit, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck because I realize that you're not going to do shit anyway. And I can say and do whatever the fuck I want. Because it's not like I'm wrong. And even if I am wrong, then there will come a point where I can look at what I did, that wrong that I did, and go, no, there was nothing wrong about that. No, you're on point. But where did I get cut off? Where did I get cut off before? Oh, I got to do preparing for tomorrow. So tomorrow's the Pisces new moon. Tomorrow's the Pisces full moon. And one of the projects that I'm working on revolves around, pun intended, the lunar cycles. Hey, look, I'm orbiting you. Is that annoying? A little bit. But I'm going to let it slide. I just presume that you don't know any better. Fuel your freedom. Look for synchronicities. Fuel your freedom. I like that. Well, we're in Virgo season right now, and Virgo is in my first house. We're only about like 4 degrees into, maybe like 5-6 degrees into Virgo season. So we're 6 degrees into my first house. First house is like, the first house of astrology, that's like, it's called your ascendant sign. Your ascendant sign is determined by the sign that is behind the sun at the time that you were born, right? Is that right? Is that right? I'm not wrong there. The ascendant is determined by one, where the sun is in the first place, like, right? So right now the sun is, I believe is, hold on, let me mix a good timestamp anyway. All right, so the sun is at 6 degrees, yeah. So at sunrise this morning, as the sun was coming over the horizon, the ascendant was at 6 degrees Virgo. Tomorrow, the sun will be at about 7 degrees Virgo, or close to it. Whatever degree that the sun is at in a particular sign over the course of the year, at sunrise, at that moment of sunrise, that's the ascendant. And over the course of the day, the ascendant sign shifts every 2 hours, roughly. It depends on the time of the year. The length of an hour fluctuates over the course of a year. An hour could be anywhere from 60 minutes long to 75 minutes long, and even as short as 45 minutes long. Once we get to, on December 22nd, I think it's around, between December 22nd and December 20th, there's a celestial event called the winter solstice. It's the day where we have the longest night over the course of the entire year. It's when the sun is at its furthest point away from the equator. On that day, the longest night of the year, an hour is only 45 minutes long. How do you make that determination? Easy. It's real easy math. So, presume you take sunrise and sunset, the entire course of a day, and you split it up into 12 equal segments, 12 equal hours. And there you go. Now, on the flip side, when daylight hours are 45 minutes, so on the winter solstice, over the course of the day, the 12-hour days, the hours are going to be 45 minutes long. Now on the flip side, that night, every hour is going to be 75 minutes long. because we're working with relative time, not standard time. We're throwing standard time out the fucking window. We don't use that no more. Why? Because we're taking our time back. So rather than having 9 hours of daylight and 14 hours of nighttime, we're having 12 hours of day, 12 hours of night, all day, day. And we can trust the system. I know we can trust the system because it's not the Hebrew system, but it's the Hebrew system. I bet you didn't know that our Hebrew brothers, our Israelite brothers and sisters, they have their own time zone. And it's called relative time. Now, I come from a pagan witch background as well. In the world of magic and mystery and wizardry and old-timey sorcery, we have what's called planetary hours. Planetary hours, it basically, instead of 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, it's Mercury. Well, I mean, it really depends on the day. There's 24 hours in the day, and each hour is associated with a planet instead of a number. Each planet has a personality to it. It has a theme to it. It has desires. It has passions. It has likes and dislikes. But the way that the hours are set up, it tells a story. So it goes the sun. Oh, shit. You son of a bitch. The sun. Ah, shit. I can't believe I forgot this. Oh, there's an app for that. Don't worry. And of course, it's going to be at the wrong fucking screen. Come on, bruh. Ay. Alright, so it goes the sun, Venus. Come on. What's going on here? I feel like you're trying to upset me. What is this shit? Fucking ads. The sun, Venus, Mercury, the moon, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, sun. And it loops. It's a 7-planet sequence. And oh my fucking god. This is what I don't like about this goddamn motherfucker. Is that there's fucking ads, and then you fucking turn the motherfucker on. And then you go to close the ad, but if you aren't precise, you turn the ad on. The sun, Venus, Mercury, the moon, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, and then we go back to the sun. Right, and it loops. So now that seems like an why is that? You know what's really cool about that is I have an answer for that. Uncle King Solomon taught me. So 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week. If you consider the first hour of the day starts at sunrise every day. That's the beginning of the new day. Forget about the whole midnight thing. We start the day at sunrise. Hour number 1 is always going to be the planet that's associated with that day. Sunday's the sun, Monday's the moon, Tuesday's Mars, Wednesday's Mercury, Thursday's Jupiter, Friday's Venus, Saturday's Saturn, Sunday's the sun. Because of the way that it's set up, because it goes Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, because it goes like that, every 7 hours, the cycle restarts itself. Because of that, it's perfectly aligned that every day at that first hour is always going to be the planet associated with that day. And everything starts over again on Sunday. Now, technically, the way the Jews do it is that sunset, nightfall, is the beginning of the new day. So it's not even midnight. It's sunset, or maybe sundown, because I know there's a difference between sunset and sundown. It's like sunrise and sunrise, and what? Day, sun, which is something I'm trying to get in the habit of doing. What I did was I wanted to customize the system to work for me. They do it at sunset. That's when their day starts, at sunset, sundown. So today's Tuesday. Sunset is around 7:39 tonight. As of 7:39 this evening, for Jews, it's Wednesday. Why is that? Because God created darkness before God created light. So darkness comes first. Now I do it a little bit differently, only for the fact because it works with my writing. Where when I do, up until recently, the way I do my journals is the new day starts at midnight or when I wake up. If I'm writing and the clock strikes 12, I will continue my thought, and once I'm done, then I'll start a new day's entry. Then I'll start for the next day. Then I'll go to a fresh page, Tuesday, August 28th. What sign the sun is in, what degree the sun is in that sign. The angel associated with that sign, the demon associated with that sign, the planet associated with the day, what sign the fucking moon is in, what phase the motherfucking moon is in at any particular time. It's organized as a motherfucker. But recently, after Uncle Solomon opened my eyes to this new way of tracking time, I started to switch things up about 2 months ago. It was actually on June 3rd, which was the 5th year anniversary of when I started writing. There are no coincidences. There's no coincidences when there's immortals involved. So now what I do is the day begins at sunrise and it goes until sunrise. So my entries for today, even after midnight, it's technically Wednesday, not for me. For me, it's still Tuesday. Tuesday ends when the sun comes up, which is the opposite of how the Jews do it. Now, because of the fact that Uncle Solomon inspired me to start studying the Torah and the Tanakh, I'm considering changing things up again and following the Jewish ways and making it so that the day ends at sunset, or the new day begins at sunset. Why? Because I want to try it out. Don't knock until you try it, right? Don't try to fix a system that you haven't even explored. Like people, so one of the groups I'm in on Facebook is this atheist versus theist debate group. I don't really do much debating. I just kind of go there and just be right about things. But something I like to challenge people with, it's predominantly atheist people who just kind of go in there and bash Christianity because that's all they really know. Nobody knows anything else. What about the Jews? I don't know. I don't know nothing. Yeah, of course. I bring up Jews, and ain't nobody knows nothing. You talk about Jesus Christ, everybody takes a shit on the guy, but you bring up Uncle Solomon and the Jews. Oh, I don't know. Of course not. Actually, except for today, there was this one thing where the guy, what the hell is he talking about? He's talking about how the Bible is all delusional and those goddamn Christians. Yeah, but what about the Jews? What do you got to say about the Jews? Like, would you say the same thing about Jewish people? Because here's the thing. Their Bible is their history book as well. That's not just dogma. That's actual, this is the law. This is the way. Now, some other guy is the one who responded. He responded with a picture of like a retarded kid with a helmet on his head. All religious people gotta wear your fucking helmets on your head. Whoa, man, you gotta watch out what you say about the Jews. We don't take shit. Israelites. You better watch out what you say about Israelites. We don't take shit, man. That's not nice. Do you ever consider that maybe from the other side of the fence, people like you, we see people like you with the ones with the fucking helmets on your head? Stupid is as stupid does, bud. But a challenge I like to throw at people sometimes is like, people are like, oh, give me evidence of God, give me evidence of God. Nigga, don't be asking me to show you evidence of God. If you want evidence of God, and I love doing this because this is usually like the fucking conversation killer right there. If you want evidence of God, here's what I'm going to challenge you to do. Think of it like a science experiment. Out loud, ask God, Hashem, God, can you show me a sign that you exist? I'm not going to fucking give in to that delusionary thinking. Why? You want evidence? What are you afraid of? What are you afraid? Are you afraid you're going to get fucking converted? You don't have to be a Christian to believe in God. You don't have to be a Christian for God to believe in you. The non-human entity that we refer to as God, Hashem, he, she, they exist outside the confines of religion. They're just there. Human beings, yeah. We create the religion and define the parameters of God, but if you take multiple religions and then you start taking those parameters, marrying them to their parameters, and you come up with a much bigger picture that isn't so two-dimensional anymore, and it actually starts to take shape. Now, what's really cool is like if you start to read the books and relate the experiences that people are having in the books with your own experiences, it makes it a little bit easier to go, oh shit, oh fuck, I know exactly what the fuck they're talking about. Like for instance, reading through the Torah and the Tanakh, okay, I know what you're talking about. I've been there. I know exactly what the fuck you're talking about. I know the voice. That's the voice. That's toxic. I follow this lady on YouTube. Yael, I believe is how you pronounce it. Yael. Branch? I forget her last name. But she does this course. she's facilitating this class for Jews, building trust with God. Because I didn't know this, but even Jewish people have a hard time maintaining their faith. I mean, it's difficult. We live in a world where all the hustle and bustle kind of pulls us away from the spiritual nature of life. But as I said, I didn't know, but they struggle with it too. It's very easy to get caught up in the, why is this happening? Why is this happening to me? Like, what the fuck? Why can't things ever go my way? But that's the point. That's the point, and especially that's the point in the class, because what we're doing, we're going over this book called The Gate of Trust. It's like a 1,000-year-old book on Jewish wisdom by a rabbi. I don't remember his name. But the big idea behind it is that, especially even when you think that things are going against you, they're actually working for you. You just aren't allowing yourself to see it, or you just haven't gotten to a point in your life to recognize why that thing that happened to you was actually happening for you. Now, in that last video, when I was going on about all of the timeline that led up to Solomon's birth, and even up to when he was crowned the king, Uncle Solomon, by Uncle David, like a very specific sequence of events needed to take place in a very specific way for everything to work out exactly the way that it needed to work out, so that right now, even like literally right now, could be right now. Now, the events leading up to the birth of Solomon, and even the events that lead up to Solomon being put on the throne, we wouldn't be here having this conversation if that didn't happen. That's how important that event is in human history. If you're like me and you believe that the Freemasons exist, and if you're like me and you've actually looked into what it is that they practice and their philosophies, why they believe the things that they believe, how they believe the things that they believe, how they practice their art, the Freemasons, who, whether we want to admit it or not, are kind of like a staple of modern society. They've been around a lot longer than you and me. The founders of this country were Freemasons. Freemasonry goes way, way back. The founder of I don't want to say the founder of Freemasonry, but the principal, I hate saying character, but the principal character of the Freemason philosophy is a man named Hiram Abiff. Hiram Abiff, if you don't know who Hiram Abiff is, it's because you never read your fucking Bible. Hiram Abiff was the king of Tyre. He was a good friend of King David's. And when David was put on the throne, Hiram sent his masons to build Uncle David a most luxurious palace. And when Uncle Solomon took over for Uncle David, after Uncle David died, it became one with the force. Why does he keep calling us uncle? Because you're my uncle. You're my uncle now. Because we're related. When Uncle Solomon took the crown, he wrote to Uncle Hiram and said, I'm on the throne now, my father's dead, and I want to build a temple for Hashem. You built this beautiful palace for my father. Now I'd like to work together and build a beautiful palace for the Lord. And considering that Uncle David and Uncle Hiram, family friend. They were family friends. But considering their relationship, it's like, of course, my boy. Of course. Anything you need. As long as you help me out with some food and supplies, you got it. Whatever you need. The Freemasons were the Masons who helped build the first temple of Israel, which is a most important artifact in Jewish and Israelite history. It was built in the city of David, on Temple Mount, on the location where Adam and Eve were created, on the site where Abraham built the altar to sacrifice Isaac. It's the location of the second temple built by Nimrod? I didn't get that far yet. But a good question to ask, like people with the atheist mindset. You're shitting on all these religions. Did you ever practice it? Like, did you ever actually practice it? Talk to God. I mean, praying doesn't mean asking for your wishes to be fucking granted. The only wish that I'm familiar with God granting is for Uncle Solomon. Right after being put on the throne, Uncle Solomon had a dream, and God came to him. And he said, "What do you need? You just tell me what you want. I'll give you anything you want. Give me one thing." And Uncle Solomon, he's called Uncle Solomon the Wise, King Solomon the Wise, for a reason. He said, "There's a lot of people here. Israel is fucking huge. I don't have the same experience that my father did. This is my first rodeo. So, I mean, if there's anything I would ask for is the wisdom to properly guide the Israelite people in the way that you best see fit." And that's when Hashem said to him, "Shit, nigga, you didn't ask me for money. You didn't ask me for money. You didn't ask me for a long life. You didn't ask me for revenge against your enemies. You asked me for wisdom. I appreciate that. So, here's the deal. Here, you got all the wisdom now. There you go. And just as an added bonus, just for being a good boy, I'm going to throw in a bunch of riches and a bunch of, what do you call it? All the things that you love. And here, long life too. And your enemies won't have shit on you." Solomon also had like a fucking 100 wives. Guy was doing something right. The next morning, I think he went to the tent of gathering, tent of meeting, which is where the Ark of the Covenant was. And these two women come up to him. I love this story. These two women come up to him with a baby. Two prostitutes. And the complaint was, we both had a baby at the same exact time. But hers died, and while I was sleeping, she took my baby. And the other lady's like, "Nah, this is my baby. Her baby died. We need you to figure out who gets what." And Solomon's like, "All right." And he looks at one of his men and he goes, "Fetch me my sword, boy. What we're going to do, we're going to slice this baby in twain, and each woman gets a half." This way everybody gets what they want. And the woman was like, no. Whoa, it's not that important. Let her have him. Let her have the baby. Just don't cut the baby in half. Anything, just don't cut the baby in half. And then the other woman's like, "Fuck it. Get the sword, cut this bitch in half. I'll take my half." And then Solomon's like, all right. You get the baby. Only the real mother wouldn't want the baby to be chopped up. That's Uncle Solomon wisdom. I love that. That's like my favorite thing ever. I never get old and tired of that story. I heard it once. I heard a rabbi talking about it, boasting about the wisdom of Uncle Solomon. And to be perfectly honest, like, I've known about Solomon for a while. I just never really, I didn't know the full scope of the story and everything that led up to Solomon between Adam and Eve and him. It was almost like reading that last night, because I just got to it last night. But reading that part in the Tanakh, that was the equivalent of the time that I got invited to go to a Freemason lodge, and they paid for my brother and I to eat dinner with them. And we got to hang out with Freemasons in the lodge for a couple hours during like a football dinner, pot roast buffet. So fucking cool. Then they gave us a tour of the fucking meeting room. Oh my fucking God. I've been wanting to be a Mason since I was like 16. There used to be a Freemason lodge that was down the street from where I lived, and I always heard these stories about who these guys were. And mind you, granted, I know that on the surface, it's a guys' club. Make good men better. Make great men better, or some. But Freemasonry is just like anything else. You get out of it what you put into it. So yeah, it's a boys' club where you do a lot of community service and shit like that. But there are secrets and mysteries and insights that are encoded within the Freemason in the Freemason way that are not necessarily available to everybody. I mean, you can. I mean, you got all the people that go, "Oh, this is what Freemasons are all about." You can listen to people like that, but you don't really know. You don't know what you don't know. Just like I was saying about with like Alex Jones yesterday. It's like, the dude's over the top, and people talk shit, but you don't know what you don't know. And it's not like everything the guy has ever said has been wrong. The guy said some shit that was right. And he brings up interesting points that are worth considering, because it's like, oh shit, I don't know what I don't know. It may not be 100% accurate. It may only be 0.002% accurate sometimes. But don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. There might be a nugget of goodness in there that's worth considering. And that's assuming worst case scenario is 0.002%. Actually, that might actually be best case. Considering some of the things that Alex Jones has presented over the years, if he was only 0.002% right about everything he's ever said, that would actually be a good thing. But considering the law of average, like, even if the dude's 50-50, which is way off. Well, you know what? Let's go 49-51. And he's only 49% right about everything. That's not good. From a certain point of view, of course. I mean, it depends. Like, if you ever read 1984, right? You ever read the book 1984? If you haven't, I highly suggest doing it. Every single person I've ever asked that question to, I'm not making fun, but every person I've ever asked that question to, have you ever read 1984? It's on my to-do list. All right. I want to ask someone who shall remain nameless. I want to ask someone, did you ever read 1984? I didn't need to, I lived it. What? As in, I didn't need to read the book 1984 because I was alive in 1984. It's all right. It's okay. Not everyone's a reader. But Whether you watch 1984 or whether you read 1984, or even if you read Animal Farm, also from Orson Welles. The reader is looking at the story from the perspective of Winston. When you look at the story from the perspective of Winston, you look and you go, oh my fucking God, what the hell kind of nightmare hell is this? I mean, mind you, like it literally is what we're living in now, but that's just from one perspective. That's just from the perspective of a guy who wants to get out. When you look at it from the perspective of the party, as like a manual for how to run a government properly, it's fucking genius. Freedom is slavery. Absolutely. As long as the slaves think that they're free, they don't give a shit. Just throw them a paycheck. As long as they're getting a paycheck and they got shit to spend the money on, they're going to keep on working. And as long as they keep on working, then it doesn't matter because they're too busy to do anything else. They're too tired to give a fuck about anything else. Peace is war, of course. When we're at war with everyone else, you have the peace. You have enough peace to continue working. Back to work. Don't forget to clock in. Don't forget to set your alarm clock. If you're late tomorrow, it's a write-up. After I give you a talking to. Hey man, we talked about this already. How many more times do I gotta tell you? You gotta come in here on time. If you're gonna be late, you gotta call. Listen, if you're gonna eat chips in the snack room, pick up the fucking chips off the floor. I know you're not the only one that uses it, but you are the only one who's eating the chips. So we've narrowed down the chip culprit to you. And considering that it's just you and me, and I don't eat chips, those aren't my chips on the floor. But at the same time, I'm continually cleaning up those chips. So I'm going to task you with one, come to work on time, so we don't have to have this conversation again, because I don't like it as much as you don't. And pick up the chips when you drop them. When you get grease on the fucking keyboard, clean it. When you take a shit in the bathroom and you get shit on the toilet seat, wipe the shit. If you piss on the seat, wipe the piss. These are real conversations. Do you ever have to talk to a man about wiping his piss off the seat? Hey man, listen. I don't give a shit because I'm not sitting in it. But if we ever get a lady in here and she walks in and you get piss and we got piss on the toilet seat, we're done. As a matter of fact, we got a lady coming here on Friday. Come on, man, clean up your act. A 52-year-old man I'm talking to like this. I like this. Trust me, I like this less than you like it. Less. Or actually, you know what? I like it just as much as you do. How's that for a comparison? As much as you like this conversation, because it feels like I'm putting you down. It feels like I'm degrading you. Right? I feel like I'm degrading myself by having to have this fucking conversation. I want to see you succeed. But success is not defined by leaving piss on the toilet seat with shit smears and chips all over the floor and a greasy keyboard. Why is there grease on the keyboard? Why is there grease underneath the keyboard? How about that? That's a better question. Why don't you fucking explain to me why I lift the keyboard up and there's fucking grease under the keyboard? Where's the grease coming from? And it's not even just regular grease. It's got viscosity to it. It's a viscous fucking grease. Why? How? Just how? This is the shit, too. This was during a time in Israel when there was no king, and everyone did whatever he wanted. Notice that's the last line from Judges in the Tanakh. There was no king in Israel at this time, so everybody was just doing whatever the fuck they wanted to do. Got this guy fucking chopping up his wife, this fucking asshole who could fucking defeat an army all by himself, sells himself out to some fucking broad who sells him out to the fucking enemy, who scoop out his eyeballs and then make him dance around like a fucking monkey. This guy's stabbing that guy's stabbing that guy. This one wants to fucking cut babies in half. I'm joking, Uncle Solomon. I know you weren't really gonna cut the baby in half. I'm just having flashbacks. Shit. I'm thinking about this other fucking jabron that I worked with. He was the fucking owner. He's got fucking scabies. Scabies? What's the thing? Like chicken pox. Scabies? Shingles. The motherfucker's got shingles on his ass crack. Literally got shingles on his ass crack. Shitting on the seat. Did he shit on the seat? No, he didn't shit on the seat. He actually had the it was his place, so he made sure to clean the shit. But I had to remind him, yo, you got fucking shingles, man. You make sure that you wipe that seat. My wife ain't never got chickenpox before, and if she gets shingles, she's dead. Maybe you shouldn't wipe it. See, but I think that's also because, like, if you don't give people a reason to give a shit, people don't give a shit. You want to take a shit on God and God's chosen people? Why don't you try to practice the ways of God's chosen people? Because maybe the reason that God's taking a shit on you, because let's be honest, if your life wasn't shit, you probably wouldn't be shitting on God. I know this in my own personal experience because I had a vendetta against God because of how shitty I thought my life was. But it wasn't until I could see wasn't until I learned how to polish a turd that I started to realize, oh, this isn't happening to me, it's happening for me. Is that relevant for some reason? I feel like that's relevant. Like once we start to realize like it's happening for me, not to me, we can actually see a little bit of the divine inspiration that went into everything that led up to it. Which is why I like to go back to my journals. Like, so for instance, I was talking about this before. Tomorrow, part of my full moon ritual is that I'm going to break out my old journal. Well, it's all encapsulated in the one journal anyway, so. I'm going to break out the entry from last week's quarter moon. And I'm going to read through it. And then, once I'm done reading through it, I'm going to write about it. And how it's relevant to what's happening right now, tomorrow. Now, in that entry, there's one section that's devoted to the previous week's new moon. So on the first quarter moon, a Sagittarius first quarter moon, I reread the entry from the Leo new moon the week prior. And then I wrote about it. So tomorrow, when I reread the Sagittarius quarter moon entry, it's going to have my musings on my entry from the Leo new moon the week prior. After I'm done there, I'm going to bust out the Leo New Moon book. Well, it's the same book. I'm gonna flip back to the Leo New Moon. And I'm gonna read through that, and then I'm gonna write about it. And how it relates to last week, and how last week relates to this week, and how that week also relates to this week. Any insights that I may have missed, any keywords, key phrases, ideas, thoughts that were going through my mind that have evolved over the course of the week, over the 2 weeks. Now, in that Leo New Moon entry is when I first started this project. So, inside that entry, on the Leo New Moon, what I did was I took out my journal from the previous week's Taurus third quarter moon. I read it and I wrote it, and I wrote about it. Then I opened the book to the Aquarius full moon, read it, wrote it. Wrote about it. My thoughts, how things have evolved, how things are connecting. Then I took out the Scorpio first quarter moon, wrote about it after I read it. Then I went back to the Cancer new moon. One full lunar cycle worth of journal entries are in that one entry. So tomorrow, what I'm going to be writing about is not just last week's entry and that week prior's entry, but also the entries that are encapsulated within those entries. Next week, on the Capricorn third quarter moon, next week on the Cancer third quarter moon, I'm going to come back and reread what I'm writing tomorrow. Then I'm going to reread what I wrote last week. Then I'm going to reread what I wrote the week before. Then the week after that, on the Virgo new moon, that represents the end of the current lunar cycle and the beginning of the next one. On that one, I'm going to backtrack next week's moon, tomorrow's moon, last week's moon, and the moon from 2 weeks ago. Then a week later is going to be the Capricorn first quarter moon. On that one, I'm going to go back and reread the entries from the Virgo new moon, because we're starting a new lunar cycle. No reason to keep on going back. Now, as an added bonus, there is a trick. There's a really cool trick with lunar cycles. So, a lunar year is composed of 44 weeks. Because of the nature of the lunar solar cycles, when viewed from the perspective of Western astrology, tropical astrology, same thing. Over the course of a year, there is one full lunar cycle in every single sign. As in, there is a new first quarter, full, and third quarter moon in every single sign over the course of a year. So technically, over the 44-week lunar year, there is one complete lunar cycle in every single sign. And they take place in 11-week increments, right? So tomorrow is the Pisces full moon. 11 lunar weeks ago, it's about 1 week shy of 3 lunar months. A lunar month is composed of 4 weeks. 11 weeks ago, which is around June 10th, there was a Pisces third quarter moon. 11 weeks prior to that, 22 weeks ago, there was on February 20th a Pisces new moon. In 11 weeks from now, there's going to be a Pisces first quarter moon. 11 weeks after that, 22 weeks from now, there's going to be a Pisces new moon. And therein is the 44-week lunar year. Now, technically, if you want to get technical with it, the Lunar New Year, according to the Chinese New Year, is the Aquarius new moon, which is the second new moon after the winter solstice. Most of the time. 99.998% of the time. So, as an added bonus for tomorrow, I'm also going to get my journal notes for the first quarter moon, the third quarter Pisces moon from June 10th. I'm going to read it, write about it. Then I'm going to get the journal entry for February 20th, read it, write it. Now, what's the purpose of that? Good question. Tracking my personal evolution and progress in life over the course of a lunar cycle, that's one thing. But now, once we isolate it down to a specific sequence of cycles, of lunar phases, for instance, Pisces, that is going to have a different look and feel to it than just the 1 month. Because now we're not looking at just 1 month, we're looking at one cycle over the course of 11 weeks, 22 weeks, 33 weeks, 44 weeks. And as a matter of fact, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. I have another project that I'm working on, which is a little bit more expansive, which is related to that. These are the lunar sequences. I call them the 12 pillars of toxic. So I have 5 years worth of journals. I write close to every single day. And I have been doing that for the past 5 years. June 3rd, 2018 at 8:31 p.m. was the first time I put pen to paper. And I have not stopped since. Now, mind you, there's some gaps here and there, especially in the early days. My fourth book. Oh no, maybe it's the sixth. My sixth book. There's a big gap. Like there's like a whole month where I didn't write anything. But there's a reason for that. I had a different laptop back then, and what I was doing was I was writing on the laptop instead of in the book. Because I was writing shit that I was doing a lot of venting and a lot of emotional releasing, and the shit that I was writing, not exactly stuff I would want people to read. Not that I would want people to read this, but that's ultimately the point. So, based on what I know about lunar cycles now, because, mind you, over 5 years of doing this, like it took a long time to finally start putting all this stuff together. Because I didn't go into this knowing what I was doing. Matter of fact, on the first page that I ever wrote, a few times I write, like, I don't know what the hell, I don't know why I'm doing this. I have an idea, but I don't know for sure. And it wasn't for another couple months that I started to actually track the lunar cycles, the lunar phases on the pages. It took a little bit of time before I started doing that. I eventually had to go back and I took all my old notebooks that I didn't do it in and had a re-entry, like 2 years worth of fucking journals. Each journal's about like 40 to 50,000 words, handwritten. They're 100 pages each. So it's a lot. It was a lot of work. But I finished it and it's incredibly organized. So what I did at the beginning of this year, around the beginning of March this year, I had an idea that something I've been doing over the years is on a new moon, I'll take out the journals of that same new moon from previous years. So right. So on a Capricorn new moon, I'll break out last year's Capricorn new moon entry, and then the year before's Capricorn new moon entry, and then I'll read them and see if there's like, where are the similarities? Like, are there any dots that can be connected? Are there any like themes, or is there any themes that seem to carry on? Or patterns and cycles, right? And what I did is what I'm doing this year similar to what I was doing last year at this exact time. It wasn't until late last year, early this year, that I started to realize, holy shit, the moon cycles work in a very specific pattern. So what if I took out every journal that I have that has, for instance, I started with Sagittarius. I was inspired by Matthew McConaughey. The target attracts the arrow. 11-11-11, or 1-11-11. So, well, I used Loki, the Disney show Loki, was a little bit of my inspiration, and what Matthew McConaughey has said in Greenlight. The target attracts the arrow. So that's presuming that I have a divine timeline that's worthy of following. So we're going to track. Sagittarius is the archer, right? I'm the arrow. So let's follow the trajectory of the arrow all the way backwards to the point where so instead of going zink, we're going all the way backwards. So what I did was I took out all my journals that have an entry on or around a Sagittarius full moon, new moon, first and third quarter moons. There's only one per year for the most part. Every 3 years, over the course of a 19-year cycle, every 3 years there's a 13th lunar cycle that's kind of sprinkled in. So like this year, there was two Aries new moons. I say 19-year cycle because every 19 years it self-corrects itself. Something I learned from the Jews. Because the Jewish calendar is based on lunar cycles, lunar and solar cycles. So what I did was I started from 2023 and worked my way all the way back to 2018. At the time, I believe I started the project on the Sagittarius full moon. No, the Sagittarius third quarter moon in March. I went third quarter moon, new moon, first quarter moon, full moon of 2022, first quarter moon, full moon, third quarter moon, new moon of 2021, first quarter moon, full moon, third quarter moon, new moon of 2020, first quarter, full, third quarter, new of 2019, first quarter. And I think that's where it stops. I'm pretty sure that's where it stops. But you see what I'm doing? We're doing a circular pattern. Because time, it's linear, but it's also asymmetrical in the sense that it's secular. It goes around itself, but it also moves forward. So think of it like climbing up a mountain by walking around the mountain. And every time you lap yourself, you're one level higher than you were before. It's like walking up a spiral staircase. But backwards. We're walking down a spiral staircase. So we're taking the downward spiral into our own history. Now, I did that with Sagittarius. Once I realized, holy shit, I'm onto something here. Let's do another one. Then I believe I did Scorpio. Right, we went there, and there. Yeah. So I did Scorpio next. Same pattern. 2023 all the way to 2018. Then I went to Leo, did the same thing, 2023 to 2018. Then I just hopped over to Aquarius. Why? Because Aquarius is the sign in opposition to Leo, meaning when you look at a chart, Leo and Aquarius are right across the street from each other. Everything that Leo has, Aquarius lacks, but everything that Leo lacks, Aquarius has. That makes sense. They're like soulmates. Now, right? So I went Sagittarius, Scorpio. Scorpio's right next to Sagittarius. Then we went all the way up to Leo, across to Aquarius. There's a specific reason why I went like this. Now with Aquarius, I did something a little bit different. So I went from Leo 2023 to 2018. From Aquarius, I did 2018 to 2023. Then we moved up to Taurus. Why? Because those four signs, Aquarius, Leo, Scorpio, and Taurus and Scorpio, they're opposites as well. They're in opposition to each other. Everything that Scorpio has, Taurus lacks. Everything that Taurus lacks, Scorpio has. One's an earth sign, one's a water sign. Water feeds earth, air feeds fire. Aquarius is an air sign, it's not a water sign. It's a watery air sign, but that's a whole other fucking story. Now, once I finished those four, I realized, where do I go next? Well, I like this idea of doing oppositions, so why don't I hop over to Gemini, because Gemini is the opposite sign of Sagittarius. So once I completed that, that's 6 signs out of the way. That's 6 out of 12 that's done. I had to take a break. This is over the course of March all the way to May. Yeah, so March, April, May. So that's about 3 months worth of work. Plus I had other things that were going on at the same time. But taking into consideration, that's not easy. Not easy. You do the look for synchronicities. Exactly. That's the point of the project too, is to pick out the synchronicities that divine intervention, the divine synchronicities that connect each of the entries together, so that it tells a complete story. Because that's what it does. Each lunar cycle in a sign has a unique narrative to it that's not in the other ones. It's a unique, I say, a narrative, a perspective. So, mind you, we're working through the same 5-year period, but just from the astrological lens of a specific sign. So the narrative is going to be a little bit different. So it's basically 12 different perspectives on the same story from the same person. What the fuck? Now the tricky part here is, like, you're gonna see some weird shit. That's that there ain't no. We ain't in Kansas anymore, because, like they say, once you see something, you can't unsee it. There were a few times where I would read entries and go, good thing I'm fucking high. This might have melted my brain. How the fuck did that happen? Literally the best story I've ever read. Of course, because I fucking lived it. But then once you start going backwards in time and remembering things, and mind you, I wrote it. I don't expect it to have the same effect on other people that it does on me. For me, I'm literally backtracking my own life, picking up things that I put down and sometimes forgot about. There's some shit that I put on the back burner from a couple years ago to go, oh shit, I forgot about that. Yo, that nigga's ready to that nigga's ready to serve. Alright. And I don't know, maybe not everyone's life is as mystical and magical and fucking amazing as mine. I can't say that. I can only speak from my own experience because I'm fucking doing it. And I know what I saw. And it's fucking amazing. So, like I said, I did those first 6 signs. And they were done in a very specific order for a very specific reason. One, like I said, Sagittarius was just proving to us that there is a divine timeline to follow. And what do I mean by a divine timeline? Consider that 99.998% of our life is just chaos and static, background noise. But within that static and chaos and background noise, there is a narrative that's unique just to you. And if you don't go looking for it, you're not gonna find it. People like, oh, I want to find my purpose in life. Blah, blah, blah. You have to look for it. Like it's not gonna fucking come and go, hey, here I am. Well, you know what? I take that back. It does do that. Your purpose goes, yo, hey, oh, hello. You're not paying it. Where the fuck are you going? You literally just said you were whatever. You'll be back around. Idiot doesn't even know he's walking in circles. I'm good. There's a camera over there. And I realized I was just kind of like, but so we started with Sagittarius 2. At least I'm one of those people, I need to see, seeing is believing. It wasn't until recently that someone proposed to me, well, yeah, but sometimes you have to believe in order to see. Fair enough. Thanks to the work I did with my journals, I could see how it relates. Because once I started to get into the older journals, once I started moving on to the project, I started to realize, like, I'm gonna get something out of this. I know I am. And what I ended up finding was like every single sequence, I called them sequences, but every single sequence had a theme to it, had like a message, had a something to it. Just something that set it apart from the other ones. So I still have to do, oh, right. So I started with Sagittarius, the arrow, divine timeline. The divine trajectory. Then I went to Leo, because that's where my sun is. My sun, S-U-N, that's where my sun is. But that's also where my Mercury is, it's also where my North Node is. And at the time, all of that was really important. It still is. Aquarius, because that's where my South Node is. Scorpio, because that's where my moon is. Not just where my moon is, but it's also where my IC. It's called your IC. That's like your fate line. IC, MC. Now, most astrologers may not agree with me on this. I don't give a fuck. Your IC, that's where you came from. If you look at the fate line, right? When the Fate sisters were pulling out your thread, your IC is the thread that you followed to get to this point. Your MC is where you're going. You ever see Donnie Darko where it's like that goop kind of leads up, blah, 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 leads out of him, and he just kind of like follows the trajectory of the goop? But everybody's got them. That's your MC. That's where you're going. So, Scorpio, that's my IC. Taurus is my MC. Gemini, that's a whole other thing. Gemini, you got to understand the concept of Gemini. Gemini twins, Castor and Pollux. One is a mortal man, the other one is an immortal demigod. The twins. It's the physical body and the spirit. Sagittarius is like the twin flame of Gemini. Whatever. So, a few weeks back, maybe like a month or two back, I started doing the Pisces sequence because I've already finished 6. I got 6 more to go. I still have Pisces and Virgo and Cancer and Capricorn and Aries and Libra. Something told me I got to do Pisces first. But tomorrow is the Pisces new moon, or the Pisces full moon, so maybe I said that I'm going to do all of this lunar cycle's entries, but then also the Pisces moon from 11 weeks ago and the one from 22 weeks ago. I may just pull out my entire fucking Pisces sequence and just do that whole bitch. And hopefully finish that up by next week. Even though, you know what makes a project really fun is pot. I had a nice supply of fucking gummies for a while. So what I was doing every day, I was eating 2. I'd wake up in the morning, have my coffee, have my cigarette, come out here for a walk, go home around lunchtime, 1 o'clock, between 12 and 1 o'clock, pop my first gummy, start reading, start writing, audiobooks, whatever the fuck I gotta do. Then around 6, 7, take the second one, and then continue on until about 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Wake up the next morning, do it again. This is fucking work, man. This ain't plowing crops, boy. You put in the wrong fucking navigational chart, you fucking fly right through a nebula star, or that'll end your ship real quick. Oh shit, Ahsoka's on tonight. Huh. Wonder if I should watch it tonight or watch it tomorrow. Star Wars. So Star Wars is another thing. God talks to me through media. Video games, movies, shows. But try to imagine, especially if you're a Star Wars fan, try to imagine that the Force, right? People don't really understand the Force. Try to imagine that the Force was inspired by Hashem. The concept of the Force in Star Wars, that is God. Take the religion out of God, okay? Take God out of religion. What do you have? You have the Force. I keep saying Hashem. Why do you keep saying Hashem? It's like saying Allah. Exactly. Hashem, it's a Hebrew word. It means the name. You can say God, you can say Hashem, Adonai, which means the Lord. It goes by many, many different names. Toxic, Mr. Toxic. My Jew teacher, I was explaining it to her. Well, I mean, in a comment. But to me, Hashem revealed himself to me as toxic. But I get what you're saying. I understand exactly I understand all this. You say Hashem, I say toxic. We're both talking about the same thing. Love Jewish people. Why don't you convert? I don't need to. Because Hashem told me I don't need to. I don't need somebody else to validate me. You know what I mean? Because in order to convert, you got to do all the stuff, and then somebody tells you that you are a thing. Yeah, I don't need you to tell me, Jules, I don't need you to tell me that my coffee is good. I know my coffee is good. I'm the one that buys it. When Bonnie buys the coffee, she buys shit. I like to buy the expensive gourmet stuff because I like to taste my coffee. But the issue I'm having is not the coffee in my kitchen. You feel me? I had a lady friend who told me how great my writing was. I should think about writing a book. Thank you. Thank you. Here, let me show you the fucking the 80 that I've already written. Trust me, the thought has crossed my mind. I don't need to, I know that my writing is amazing. That's why I write. If I didn't like it, then I wouldn't be doing it. I appreciate it, but what do you really want? Just say you're lonely and need somebody to talk to. That's it. Or that you're a little fucking vampire and just trying to steal my attention away from what I'm doing so that I can focus on you to make you feel better about yourself because ain't nobody else wants to talk to you. Ooh. It's harsh. Well, you gotta look from my perspective too. We didn't talk for a month. We went from talking like, not every single day, but we didn't go more than a week without checking in on the other. Yeah, that's a theme for Pisces too. I haven't talked to her in almost a month. Love it. Well, I've been trying to like cut her out of my life more and more over the past like several months. Like on the new moon 22 weeks ago, I went on a date. Not with her, but with someone else. And I was fucking scared shitless because I hadn't talked to her in weeks. I hadn't talked to her in almost a month. Because what I felt like I was so dependent on her, that's why I needed to cut back, because I felt like I was completely like codependent. Not that that's a bad thing, because I don't think codependence is really a bad thing. We just label it as a bad thing. Codependence is only bad because someone told you it is, because you have a bad experience with it. But if you look at it from a different lens, you can probably find a positive aspect to it. You're committed. You're committed, and you're committed to a person. There's nothing wrong with that. But it can turn toxic, and I felt it getting toxic because I couldn't think about much else other than her. Yeah, imagine what she was going through. Yeah, no, I know. I don't blame her. Like I can't fault her for thinking about me too. And I know, like when you're thinking about somebody, it's because they're thinking about you too. It's just that one person has to act. Because if nobody's gonna act on it, it's just gonna eat you both alive until it's finally so I can't fucking do this anymore. And by that point, I had gotten pretty good at like not giving in to my urges, which was to talk to her. But from then to now, I mean, she was the one that continued popping up. She popped up, and I got back into this. Now I gotta talk to her every goddamn day. Now I can't stop thinking about her again. Because it's always like right when I get her out of my head. Once I get her out of my head, she's back. She pops up. God damn it. We're back at it. Oh, is that what you meant by that, huh? The cycle's repeating itself so that you can see how far you've grown. Oh my God. Which reminds me, yeah, there's two messenger messages on my phone. I'm not saying that one is definitely her because I'm in the middle of 3 conversations right now. Well, 4 technically, but 5. So realistically, it could be one of any. Oh fuck! I feel like it's her. Where have you been? I haven't talked to you. Well, you have a boyfriend. You were seeing somebody, and I wanted to not be involved in that because I have feelings for you, which I was continually saying. I have feelings for you, and I want to see about evolving this, but there's no response. So that's when I was just fuck it. I'm just gonna go all out on this one then. Why hold in feelings? Why regret not doing something? Why not just fucking do it and not give a fuck if it works out or not? And so I just laid it all out. I got nothing in return. So her birthday came and I didn't say anything for her birthday. I thought about it and I was like, because part of me was like, oh, I gotta say happy birthday at midnight. This way I can be the first person to say happy birthday. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? No, you're not gonna do that. And as a matter of fact, you ain't even gonna say happy birthday. Because here's why. 1, she hates her birthday. 2, let's just say this year happens to be the year that she loves her birthday and wants to go out. She didn't invite you out. Tree, how many times over the last 2 months have you heard, over the last year, have you heard, I'm gonna take you out. I wanna see you. Oh, no, those words weren't said. I owe you dinner. I wanna take you out to dinner. How many times? Nothing ever came of it. How many times did we say, can I have my book back, please? About 6 times. It puts up a fucking fight. Now, fuck it. Take one for the team. Listen, sweetie pie, I have a digital copy of the book. I'll just rewrite it. I don't give a fuck. Keep it. I'm seeing somebody. This guy I'm talking to. Whoa, ho. Wait a second. Well, that would explain why you don't say anything back when I share my feelings. And I laid it out again. I mean, I felt like, it's a fucking messenger. I felt like I got it all out. It's just like, hey, listen, you're either afraid to say something or you're fucking, I don't know what the fuck is going on. All you had to say is hey, I don't feel that same way about you. I don't know what to tell you. Okay. But would you have even told me if I didn't not ignore your birthday? It's like what's coming to my mind is The Matrix. When Neo first goes to see the Oracle, and she's like, oh, don't worry about the vase. Vase? What vase? Bloom. And he knocks the bitch over. I told you not to worry about it. But what's really going to bake your noodle later, would you have broken it if I didn't say anything? How long would you have continued stringing me along? Well, I know, my brothers are friends with her too. I told him what happened, and he's like, oh yeah, she's been seeing this guy for a while. Wait, what? Oh! Oh, I didn't know that. Now I feel even less bad. So you literally were doing exactly what I thought you were doing, which was just taking advantage of the fact that I have feelings that aren't worth validating or invalidating. It's not my job to validate your feelings. You just did. Because I had a feeling you were going to say that. My feelings don't start and stop with emotions. But now the nice thing about that whole thing, the cycle's repeating because it's showing you how much you've grown. Exactly. Like that was all happening for me. It wasn't happening to me. Yeah, I was mad at the time. I was upset. My heart was broken, and I loved her. I was so in love with her for years. When I finally got the courage to give her my number, oh, God. Every time I saw her, every time we would go out, we only went out a couple times. The presents that she would get me, God, I love them. I cherished everything about her. So yeah. And from the very beginning, I felt as though I was very clear. I would like to be your boyfriend in the future. But I'd like to evolve this over time and get to know each other. So I told her everything. She knows shit about me that I probably don't want people to know. But that's exactly why I told her. That was the point. Because I realized one of my biggest issues when I was married was the fact that I couldn't be open and honest about things. So I saw this as an opportunity to get vulnerable, just raw, scary, vulnerable with another person. And it was fucking amazing. Did you ever consider that maybe you got more vulnerable than she was comfortable going? Of course! Absolutely. I think we left it off pretty well. I mean, it was ugly at a moment. There was like this ugly spot, but that's because I was getting a lot of shit out. And she gave it right back to me. But it worked out pretty much how I expected. Like, she met somebody, and then we stopped talking. You only needed me while you needed me. It's like once you just stop needing me, then you don't need me anymore. But it goes both ways. When I was working for Hugo Boss, my sister used to tell me all the time, like, you're being taken advantage of. You're right. I know I'm being taken advantage of. But I'm also taking advantage back. So just as much as they're taking advantage of me, I'm taking advantage of them. So it's a give and take. It's not so much I'm putting everything out and not getting anything in return. Yeah, no, I'm getting shit in return. Trust me. I'm not entirely a victim here. I'm no more a victim than they are. No, I'm getting my hair cut tomorrow. I don't know what to do with this though. It's long. I don't know what to do because I'm losing a little bit up here, and it's all frizzy up front. In the back, it's luxurious and delicious. It's just up front, it's like all frizzy. Broken ends. What I probably need to do is go to the salon and have the girls work on my hair over here. That's not a bad idea. So what? Yeah, no, she was a cool friend. I mean, I treated her like I would treat a girlfriend. I put myself in the mindset like, okay, this is my future girlfriend. This is my future wife. So how would I want to treat somebody? And so that's what I did. It was always very nice. Check in on her, see how her day is. Good morning. How are you doing? I mean, it wasn't entirely a game. But it was also an opportunity for me to follow my intuition. That was another thing about it was, all right, let's see where intuition goes. Because there was a point where like I would hear her in my head. I get like that with people. It's like I hear people in my head. It's not just Hashem. But I would hear people in my head and I would sometimes act on it. And especially with her. And this interesting occurrences took place. It was weird shit that would happen. Weird shit, synchronistic shit. Like you know when you like think of somebody before they call, stuff like that. But it would get more involved. Oh shit! I forgot about Walmart. That whole thing. We don't live really close, but we live fairly close to each other. And I went to Walmart one night with my brother. That's a whole long story. I had a vision because of this breath work that I was doing. I had a vision of her and me with my ex-wife and her boyfriend, and we were all getting along and having a really good time. And I was listening to this song on repeat that made me think of her. And I ended up taking a nap because of how exhausting the breath work was. And I woke up later than I wanted to because I had to go to Walmart to get taco supplies. And like it was way late. Hours late. But my brother and I had to wait for my brother, and I'm getting all bent out of shape because my brother's taking a long time. But the voice in my head, Hashem, I didn't call it Hashem then, it was just a voice in my head, said, calm down. Take it easy. Take it easy, bud. Everything happens exactly how it's supposed to happen. And I'm thinking to myself, all right, whatever. Whatever the fuck that means. As we're pulling up to Walmart, she popped in my head, and I'm thinking, I wonder if she ever shops here. And then we parked the car at a Texas Roadhouse right across the street. And just in my mind, like, I would love to take her out to that restaurant. And like a couple days prior, she had popped up in my messenger about my writing. It's such a good writer, you should write a book. We hadn't talked in about a month. And the night before, like literally the night before that she popped up and told me about the writing, we hadn't talked in a month. And I had just recently gotten back from Salem too. I went to Salem for a couple days. But I went to the Chinese buffet, and while I was going to the Chinese buffet, I heard her in my head. Please text me, please, I need to talk to you. Please, where are you? I want to talk to you, please. And I'm walking around fucking the Chinese buffet with my headphones on going, nah, I'm done. Listen, you want to talk to me? You message me. I'm not continually being the one who always has to do the things. If you want to talk to me, then you have to take the steps to actually make it happen. Otherwise, leave me the fuck alone. Go bother someone else's head. And then the next day, at around 9 p.m., she messaged me. And that was the day before the Libra new moon. So we're coming up on like the 2-year anniversary of that. Or 3. That was 2020. No, that was 2021. Only 10 more minutes. But as we got out of the car, I told my brother what happened. I was trying to keep it a secret. I didn't want to talk about it, but I couldn't. Something was telling me, like, you have to tell him. So I told him what happened. I was like, oh, you know who popped up? And I told him what happened. And it's like, and I'm saying to him, it's like, I use the same thing. It's like, yo, Jules, I know my coffee is good. I know that my writing is good. I don't need you to tell me how good my writing is. What do you really want? Like, why? What was going through your head when you messaged me? What did you really want to say? How did you want me to respond? What were you hoping was going to happen? Oh my God, you're my biggest fan. You really like it? Do you want me to write something for you? Like, what do you want? I'm not trying to be mean, but what are your motives? What is it that you're trying to get out of this? So as we're walking, as I'm talking like this, yeah, I'm talking a big game with my brother. Walking around Walmart. So fucking, I don't know, like I just got this weird feeling. Like I kept on turning around because I felt like she was like heard me. So